The following program is brought to you in part by the film Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace.
Welcome to another Leon Charney report. We're sitting in Israel, in Caesarea, Israel, where Caesar tried to come along and do something here, but he didn't succeed because we have an Israeli government, a Jewish state. And we're sitting and talking with Meir Sheetrit, who's now the Minister of Justice. He's a leading figure in the Likud party, and as you know, the Likud party is headed right now by Ariel Sharon. But if you talk about the young blood in the Likud party, you talk about fellows like Meir Sheetrit, maybe Silvan Shalom, who last year told us that he wanted to be a prime minister, and amongst others. I believe the last time we had Meir on this show, he was a treasurer of the Jewish Agency, so he leaped from treasury to justice. That's a good leap, by the way. Anyway, welcome to the show, Meir.
Thank you, Leon.
So you're a justice minister in a very tough time. There are a lot of discussions that have to be held concerning Israeli, Arabs, and Palestinian rights or not rights. How do you feel in this job, not being a lawyer?
I think that especially in this time when we have difficulties in a situation of a conflict, of armed conflict, the justice system should be much more strong, and we should keep everything under the lines of law. We cannot allow ourselves to behave like the Palestinians do, or like other countries which don't have democracies are doing. We have to be sure that even in the worst situation of armed conflict, for example, the Palestinians will have supplies of food, water, electricity, give them possibility, some of them to come to work in Israel, give them possibility to live like human beings. It does not cancel by any way our rights as a government according to the law to protect our citizens' life, even by if it is needed to take an action against the terrorists in their own territories. That's legitimate by the international law, it's legitimate by the decisions of the International Court in Hague, and by the United Nations resolution, and by Oslo agreements. So in this time of conflicts, which we have such big difficulties with the Palestinians, it's more than every other time important that everything we do will be on the basis of the law and within the lines of the law.
Have you had to take any courses now in the study of law?
No. I believe that the best way to learn law is by life. And I'm almost 20 years member of Knesset. I have been mayor for 13 years. I've been Minister of Finance. I've been treasurer of Jewish Agency. So I have very, very long experience, which if you compare it to anything you can learn in university, it is much, much more, in my opinion, much more better. And therefore, anything and any issue you raised, I have in a way in my life a touch with it. It crossed my way. Therefore, I'm quite very well known about what's going on in there. I'm fast learning, and I make a decision quite fast.
The Prime Minister of Israel is being accused by BBC of I guess, war crimes, so to speak. And you know the law in Belgium is that they try these people. 2 nuns were tried over there. What's the situation? First of all, I'm not sure it's your problem because it's Sharon's personal problem.
No, Mr. Sharon's problem is my problem.
Okay.
He's my prime minister as well. And I'm telling you, this program of the BBC is anti-Israeli. It's like they first stick the arrow and then they put the target around it. It was just meant to attack Mr. Sharon, Prime Minister of Israel, because he became Prime Minister. It's my opinion, it's nonsense, and it is scandal that the BBC network is taking such a program to trying to incriminate through the television someone. You can make a program and incriminate the Belgium or the English or anyone you want. It's very easy to make a television program. I suggest to my government at all not to relate to it. It's not worth it. It's just a television program.
I can tell you as a lawyer, I wasted my time going to law school. You know, I had a few life experiences too. But as a lawyer, I don't think he has any problem. And there's a lot of immunity, all kinds of situations. But the real issue is why BBC would do it at such time. I think that's really something that we all have to examine.
It seems to me like they have tried to take some rating, to upgrade their rating. It's really funny.
That's a very dangerous way of getting a rating, especially when you have such a conflict here. My own opinion is, by the way, as a lawyer, that will reverberate to the benefit of Mr. Sharon. It will not hurt him. I think his popularity will grow in the country because of it.
That's my chance to thank the BBC for putting all the people of Israel backing Ariel Sharon. That is the best time in his life that almost everyone in Israel is supporting him when we saw what the BBC was suggesting. Because it's really ridiculous and nonsense. As you said, as a lawyer, you know, and every lawman know that it's really nonsense. And I believe that the way they're going is very dangerous for their credibility and for their life, because if the people of Israel think that the BBC is not neutral and he have a stand from advance instead of being like someone who reporting facts, that make me wonder, should I look at the BBC?
No, it's terrible. And the judge there, who came from South Africa, a man named Goldstone, says that he never made the comments that he did say. It looked like the BBC went in and interviewed people and then cut it any way they wanted, which is very dangerous on the editing table. Meir, the Likud party is leading the country today. Arik Sharon's polls are very high. But the polls show that he's really popular with the people who are maybe in the Labor Party and also maybe on the Meretz side. We just had Abu Vilan here, who says that he's very happy with his policy. You, on the other hand, have a right-wing element in your government, like Gandhi and Lieberman and maybe even Sharansky, who are pushing Sharon to do something against this policy of restraint. How do you stand on this issue?
My stance all my life had been, I've been in the center. I've never been a very right hand or a very left hand. And I believe that's the golden way. That's the right way to look at things, not to be extreme for no sides. I've never seen that extremism ever help anyone or any country or any people, much more than this. Extremism always was a very good reason for destruction of a people, including our people. And I believe that in the situation of today, I'm supporting Mr. Sharon is on policy 100%. I'm standing, in matter of fact, behind it as a member of the cabinet, of the security cabinet. I was the one who was defending very strongly today after what happened in the Dolphinarium in Tel Aviv, after the terror attack in Tel Aviv, in which we lost 21 children, which had been just assassinated, just easily by the Palestinians. I was the one in the cabinet who protected not to attack the Palestinians. I mean, not to take any action against them in the meantime, and try to really show the world who is the victim and who is the aggressor. People have to know, and I'm afraid, Leon, that people everywhere in the world don't know the very simple facts. The facts are that Prime Minister Barak at the time offered to Mr. Arafat 98% of the West Bank, free of any settlements, all the Gaza Strip, having a statehood, 3/4 of East Jerusalem. No one in the history of Israel ever gone that far, and I believe no one in the future will ever try to be over there. And Arafat rejected it. I even said that the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. And they did it again. I cannot understand why anybody in the world should understand or justifying violence that have been operated by Arafat after he ejected such a very generous suggestion by the Prime Minister of Israel. So what the people expect us to do as Israelis? When Arafat shooting our people in the streets, put bombs in buses, launching terror attacks against Israel, his own people, which we give them guns in order to keep law and order, are using those guns against our soldiers, against our children. They're shooting in Gilo, in Jerusalem, night by night, to the houses of the regular citizens for 3 months. You tell me what the United States would do if any group of people, doesn't matter who they are, will take guns and start to shoot people in Washington, D.C., night by night, not for 3 months, for 3 nights. The United States will take the best forces and smash them off, doesn't matter who they are. And we are not doing so. We're trying, even so, we're building walls against the windows of those people who are living in this neighborhood in Jerusalem. We try to answer only the places in which we know the fire come from over there. And still, the world is blaming us because they think we're using excessive force. Could anybody really believe that if we wanted to take over all the Palestinian territories at once, it will take us not 6 days this time, 6 hours? We're not doing so because we don't want to shut the door over the chance for peace. And I believe as far as there is any small chance of peace, any one ray of light in this darkness, I would follow it up. And I would expect, and I'm doing all my best, really to see and to prove to myself that I did everything before I make a decision to go to action or to war. That's the way we're standing in. And I'm so sorry that Europe do not understand us. Some people in Europe think that they may be nice to Arafat, then maybe he will be a good guy. They don't understand that Arafat wants just two things. He wants to drag all of the Middle East to a bloody confrontation between Israelis and Arabs. Secondly, he wants to bring to the territories United Nations or international forces to mediate between Israel and the Palestinians, and as a matter of fact, to involve the international community in Israeli problems. I don't think that we should give him that price. And the United States, thanks God, this administration and this president is standing on the side of Israel because the United States understand, because they know all the facts, they know all the information, and they know exactly that today the Palestinians and Mr. Arafat is breaking every commitment he's done in the past to every Prime Minister of Israel. And therefore, this administration is standing on our side, understanding our position, and giving us some protection against the wall of heat against Israel.
All right, but you're a member of the Inner Cabinet, which is really the security cabinet of Israel. I assume that you have plans. You have there's a limitation to how much restraint the population can take, and you know that as well as I do. I'm sure you get calls every day from settlers, and Ruby Rivlin told me last night he got 100 calls from settlers. How long can the government of Israel restrain itself?
I get not just calls, but also a lot of demonstrations by my house as a member of this Inner Cabinet.
Where do you live, Mayor? Where do you live?
In Yavne, town of Yavne, 25 kilometers south of Tel Aviv.
Right.
Living there, and people know my stance in the cabinet, and people know that I'm protecting not the line, not to.
You're known as a very moderate guy in the cabinet.
So I have a lot of demonstrations against by my house. I spoke to the people, and I tell them quite frankly, I feel the same way they're feeling. I have the same anger. I have the same desire of revenge. And I have the same sorrow for everyone who fails or falls in this war. But I have to make a decision because I have some more responsibility than everyone who stands in the street. And I have to make the resolution or the decision if we have to attack or not. So I have to make the decision which, for my best judgment, would reduce as much as possible the violence and the casualties.
Right.
Today, it seems to me that the way we are going, by putting restraints over ourselves, is reducing de facto, very strongly, all the violence cases. If we come to conclusion that everything is lost, and I'm not standing with a stopper in my hand or counting the time or put any timetable, it's a matter of judgment that we come to conclusion that nothing helps, that Arafat want to plant in the wind, then he can take a harvest of storm. Because we have the ability always, if we want to take action against the Palestinians, we have it in our hands. We can use it in the time we want, in the place we want, and when we think it's right to be done. Today, I'm still from those who believe that we should hold on.
Restrain.
We should hold on, be strong, not break up, and hold on and make the decision only when we think that it is for the benefit of the State of Israel.
And what do you tell the settlers? The same thing?
The same thing. Our country, Leon, had passed very, very difficult times in our history. We have been in much, much worse situation. Small group of people, 1947, 600,000 people, make the fight of our independence for few years against hundreds of millions of Arabs. And we won that war. Therefore, that we have the states. And afterwards, a lot of kibbutzes today and moshavs in the borders of the northern border of Israel had been shelled day by day and attacked day by day.
That's true.
And they hold on. They never gave up. We could not give up. We have no other place to go. This is our country, the only Jewish state in the world. And let me tell you so, nobody will drive us from here. If anybody in the world expects us to put gun in our hand and shut it off, that will not happen. Doesn't matter what it takes. And I'm telling you more than this. I believe that every mother of those casualties doesn't care what the mother in North America thinks, if it is right or wrong to retaliate. United States had retaliated against Gaddafi in his own home by F-16s or F-15s, I don't know exactly which kind of airplane it been, because he gave a shelter to the two terrorists which put the bomb in Pan Am, which had been crushed in Lockheed. Now, could anybody now judge us and say you are not entitled to retaliate or to take actions against the people who launch terror attacks against us? Can anybody tell us, look, stop, let your people die, don't do nothing? We cannot accept this. Therefore, I believe that we are strong enough to hold on, and I believe we had been here many times, long time before Arafat. We will be here much, much longer time after Arafat. Arafat is bringing another disaster to his own people. Look what happened. He is in Intifada for 9 months. He brings just misery, more and more misery to his own people. And my heart is full of sorrow also for the Palestinian people. Because they're stuck in this situation, they can do nothing against it. They cannot re-elect, they cannot make an election, they cannot replace Arafat. They don't have such an option at all. We told that Barak did wrong, so we replaced him by Mr. Sharon. They can do so. They're stuck in the middle. Arafat do whatever he wants. Nobody can say a word, because if he say a word, he will be shut off. In their situation, that's the reason why I believe that in the worst situation that we are, we have to try to defer from the regular citizenship of the Palestinians and give them as much as we can, the best conditions of life we can have in this situation, and to attack and to retaliate only against the people who are launching terror attacks against us.
All right, another big issue, Israeli Arabs. You have a Knesset member called Azmi Bishara. Azmi Bishara went to Syria last week, spoke in front of a congregation of Syrians for the yahrzeit of Hafal Assad, which is the Memorial Day, and he said some pretty tough things against the state of Israel. He is a member of Knesset, and he has an immunity. Your feelings about it? Is it freedom of speech, or is he out to destroy the state of Israel?
As a democratic country, we have a total freedom of speech in Israel. And I believe that everyone should use that right of freedom of speech
reasonably.
Reasonably. You have the rights in order to use it reasonably. If you pass the line, you are destroying those rights, because now you are justifying those people who are against those rights to act against it. Suppose that in the Congress of the United States will stand a few congressmen and will spoke that they were encouraging let's say, the time of the Cold War with Russia, encouraging the Russian to attack the United States. How would every American accept it?
Well, a famous judge once said that freedom of speech does not imply that you can shout fire in a theater.
Exactly.
So we know that. The question is, what do you're a justice minister today. You have a big job.
Today, the legal advisor of the government, matter of fact, he's the General Attorney of Israel. Attorney General, he decided to open an inquiry, a police inquiry against Mr. Bishara. I believe that he passed the law in the way he did. If we find that he passed the law, we'll put indictments against him, and if it is needed, he will be, of course, put to court. Now, I'm not enthusiastic about it. Why? Because maybe that's exactly what he wants.
Martyrdom.
He wants to be a martyr.
Right.
He wants to build up his own political career. Therefore, I'm saying that, in matter of fact, I'm saying to Arab people in Israel that he represents them in the worst way he can. He creates a big damage, tremendous damage, to the very gentle tissue which had been built up between Jews and Arabs in Israel. Because if people of Israelis would say, if he talk like this way, maybe that's the way every Arab think. So it creates a lot of tension between both sides. And I don't think that all the Arabs think that way. I think that he is a minority. If I was an Arab, the last one I would vote for will be Azmi Bishara.
Second would be Ahmed Tibi.
And not Ahmed Tibi as well.
All right, we got to cut.
All this bunch.
We got to cut for a break, and we'll come right back, and we'll continue with Meir Sheetrit, who's the Justice Minister in Arik Sharon's unity government, and very staunch advocate of restraint. but also enforcement of Israel power. We'll be right back.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the backdoor channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover the mystery of the Kaddish. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening, a book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD in Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Mole Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs in Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
We're back. We're talking with Meir Sheetrit, who is a highly intelligent member of the Israeli government. I don't mean that to be facetious, but he thinks very strongly, and he's philosophical, and he has courage. He has the courage of a leader. And it's not that easy sometimes, especially in the Likud party, where there are a lot of casualties going on, especially in the right wing of that party, with people being shot and killed. And there's a lot of demand in that party. I know from the hard right people in that party, I've spoken with them, that they would really love to see military action immediately. And he is in the inner cabinet, the security cabinet, which is a very important job right now. And they are deciding how and when, if they do retaliate, and what policy to take. Your Prime Minister, Arik Sharon, is going to the United States next week to talk with President Bush, amongst others. It is the feeling that for the Israeli military to go into any action, you probably would need an understanding or a tacit implication from the United States government that you could make this move. You think that's a true concept or an untrue concept?
United States is a very true and real ally of Israel. And I think that the cooperation between the United States and Israel is very strong. The relationship are very good, had been during all the years. We feel much more better in the Middle East, being alone, surrounded by different people, when we know that we have over the sea a friend like the United States. And therefore, we feel not only an obligation, we feel that it is a pleasure for us to coordinate our actions with the United States as well. I believe that we should coordinate, we should not embarrass each other, because we want to be the same side all the time.
Right.
And as I told you before, I believe that this administration, thanks God, is very good to understand the situation in which we are. We're having a lot of political and help from the United States, and also in different matters. We know that the United States, as a superpower of the world, have the most and the large influence all over the world. Europe, other countries and others, and they can fulfill a task that it is irrepressible. Nobody can replace the United States in the situation in which they taken off. I'm glad that the administration feel that it is their task to be involved in what's going on in the United States. And therefore, in my opinion, Sharon is going to speak with President Bush and with others in order to explain to them in details our situation, our policy, and try to look forward in the future what are the options for Israel to behave depends on the developments in our area. You know that we're trying to keep word by word mutual report, and we try to fulfill exactly every point in it. Yesterday, there were meetings between the Israelis and the Palestinians and with the Americans in which we give a program. What will be the steps and the timetable of bringing back the situation to what it used to be before the violence? Of course, under the assumption that the Palestinians will keep and will implement their own sides 100%. According to what happened in the last days, that we lost, few people had been killed and shot just by the Palestinians like that, we could say we don't want to give any timetable or anything. The cabinet made a decision, and I was protecting it, of course, to do it. Because I want to be stick to the Mitchell report and to the Tenet report, in which everybody took commitments over himself. We tried really to show everyone that we're doing our part. If Arafat is not keeping his own part, let him have the trouble. The United States with others. I would like to see that the United States is looking at it, judging it, will say to the world publicly who is to blame if this arrangement will fail. Who is to be blamed? Because in that case, if that's failed, then you take me as well, that I will pass from the side of restraint to the side in action. And I don't believe in semi-actions. I believe we have to, how they say it in the famous film, if you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk. Talk as much as you can, but if you have to shoot, shoot. I don't believe in doing things from time, one day yes, one day no. The Palestinians have to make their mind up. They want peace. If they will find our heart open and our hands are stretched to have peace. If they don't want peace and they want to be in conflict or war, they will have it.
Let's assume, and we can, that the Israeli military could take out the Palestinian Authority, the leadership, not the people, in a very short period of time. What is the plan of the Israeli government in the event you have to do that? How would you treat the Palestinian people?
We have no intention to do so. I'm against any personal attacking of people of the Palestinian leadership. I'm against it totally. Nobody meant to do so. I believe that we have to live together. We're living together on the same area. If we have to act, our action will not target it to political person. It's not our way of action.
All right, so let's say you have a victory in 6 hours. Then what happens? You become military governors again? What do you do?
We have to control the situation and prevent any terror of actions against our people. If we'll be in that situation, that we have to go to conflict, we try also to be in conflict only in the areas which are needed to be conflict.
I agree.
We're not going to make total conflict because we want just a conflict. We will protect ourselves from the areas in which they're shooting over us. We'll try to have protection, the right protection, to prevent any shooting against our people. That's insufferable. And I believe that if we do so, the Palestinians can back off everything and say there is no Oslo agreement. In any way, they don't comply. They don't doing anything according to the agreement. Arafat is that really doesn't care what is written in the agreement. He do whatever he wants.
Do you believe Oslo is a dead issue?
No, not yet. Really? I still believe that's what I'm telling you. Therefore, I'm willing to wait. Because still, we have passed already a long way. We're already giving 42% of the West Bank. It's in the hands of Palestinians. All the Gaza Strip in the hands of Palestinians. 95% of the Palestinians under the Palestinian control. Today, all the big issue they're doing from settlements, people don't know, but in matter of fact, we're speaking about just 3.5% of the territories of the West Bank. That's all the settlements all together. So I don't understand why anybody thinks that settlements, it is an issue that could justify violence. Nothing should justify violence. Arafat signed personally an Oslo agreement saying he will never use terror against Israel. He will uproot all the infrastructure of the terror in his own territories. He will stop the incitement against Israel. Leon, I would, if I could recommend, take part or cassette, just take one night of the television show, the television talks in the talk show and programs on the Palestinian territory, and show it to the American people to see what terrible incitement they're doing against Israelis. That's unbelievable. Now, it's the fact that nothing is true. It doesn't change anything, because that's what the Palestinian children are looking. So if a guide, children who don't know any other information, looking at the Palestinian television, and somebody tell him all the time he should commit suicide against Israel, that's a holy fight against Israel, so they do.
And they're educated that way too, from
That's
the
exactly
books.
the point. And they educate that way. Look, European community are financing the books of the Palestinian territory. They're financing it. I told them in the Council of Europe, show me one book that you finance, that you will see the name of Israel in the Middle East map, I give you a prize.
What'd they say?
That was amazing. They find out that, as a matter of fact, they're never monitoring it.
They don't monitor it.
No, they're just giving the money.
Let me throw some countries at you and tell me what you think. France, how are they in this conflict now?
I'm sorry, most of the time we find the French very unfriendly to Israel. You know, if you remember, Barak and Arafat had been in Paris.
He didn't get a glass of water, Barak, from...
Not only a glass of water, as a matter of fact, practically, Chirac, that time, he was the one who defeated the agreement between Barak and Arafat for stopping violence. Look, in the meantime, you see that the French... I have been many times in French, and you look at the French television.
You speak French?
Not very well. I used to when I was a kid, and I forgot it. I remember 30 or 40%. But I was looking at the French television when I was in France, and sometimes I don't believe what I see. You know, you can take a camera and put it to such an angle that show you just one angle of the situation which will make Israel worse.
All right, we're going to cut for a break. We'll be right back, and don't leave us. It's a fascinating, more than fascinating, it's a very important interview, and I think he's expressing it better than most Israeli leaders are, and he knows from where he speaks because he's in the inner cabinet. We'll be right back.
In modern Middle East history, only one peace treaty has stood the test of time, the 1978 Camp David Accord. In the new documentary film, Backdoor Channels, The Price of Peace, learn the true story behind the greatest diplomatic achievement of our time and its lessons for the future.
The price of peace is very high to have this courageous man and my close friend killed.
Winner of the Telly Award for Best Cultural Program. Now available at select stores including Barnes & Noble and online at Amazon.com. Now get the book the hit movie was based on, Leon Charney's Backdoor Channels. Learn about the Backdoor Channel negotiations that led to the historic 1978 Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty. Become a witness to history and order Backdoor Channels online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Also available at all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at iTunes or Audible.com. Relive history. Order Backdoor Channels. Leon Charney sets out to discover the true meaning of the Kaddish, the Jewish custom of reciting a prayer to commemorate the death of a close relative. Join Charney as he finds out the history of the Kaddish and how it has evolved. Reviewed as a refreshing walk through Jewish history and a book that deserves to be read by both Jews and non-Jews, The Mystery of the Kaddish is now available online at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all other retailers and booksellers. Or download the audiobook at Audible.com or on iTunes. Discover the mystery of the Kaddish. Get best-selling author Leon Charney's latest book, The Battle of the Two Talmuds. Join Charney as he explores years of Jewish history to find out why and how Talmudic scholars and rabbis abandoned the Holy Land for the lands of the diaspora. Learn about the power struggles behind the creation of the Jerusalem and Babylonian Talmuds. It's a book critics call engaging and enlightening. A book which will be of interest to people of every faith. Now available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or download the audiobook of The Battle of the Two Talmuds at iTunes or Audible.com. Available now over iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. Leon Charney's cantorial CD and Disco Lam. Listen as Charney movingly sings El Moleh Rachamim and Charney's amazing rendition of a disco remix of Adon Olam, all sung in the incredible and individual Charney style. Also listen to the CDs on Rhapsody. Download Leon Charney's cantorial songs and Disco Lam, the disco remix of Adon Olam on Amazon, iTunes, and Google Play. Or listen in on Rhapsody. All available now.
I'm Leon Charney. We are talking in Israel, Caesarea, Israel, which is a resort town, sort of. I guess it's more than resort now. A lot of second homes, weekend homes here. Beautiful place. It's you see the Mediterranean at sunset. I've done it many times with the former president who lives out here. His name is Azazel Weitzman, in case you've forgotten him. And we're talking with Meir Sheetrit, who is the Justice Minister of the State of Israel, and with the Likud Party, a man who knows Yasser Arafat intimately. I don't mean that in a funny way, because he's dealt with him for over a period of years, and during the Netanyahu government, etc. Can you, I don't know if you can, I mean, if I were a shrink or a psychiatrist, I would have an answer, but is Arafat really just a terrorist, or is he a leader?
He used to be a terrorist, but still he is the leader of his own people. He was elected in a very large majority. As a matter of fact, he's holding in his hands the both strong positions with the Palestinians. He's the head of the Palestinian Authority, and he's also the chairman of the PNC, of the Palestinian National Council, which means the Palestinians from outside of Israel. Maybe he's the last one.
Outside of Palestine, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what it's called,
right.
Palestinian National Council.
Right.
So he's holding in his hands the two positions. Maybe he will be the last one who will hold those two positions together in his hand. That's the reason why we believe in the past in Oslo Agreement that if we done a deal with him, that will be a deal. That after so many years of war, terror, that he understood that to bring him nowhere, maybe time has come that they were going to reconcile. And that's the reason why Rabin signed with him the Oslo Agreement. Suddenly, every one of us who supported peace, including me, and supported the Oslo Agreement, feel very frustrated. We ask ourselves, is this the guy that we're giving him so much land, we want to make out of him a head of a state? Should we sleep at night when he is responsible and we see that he's not honoring his own commitments and words? That's put us to put a question after every thing we sign with him. And that's, in my opinion, he have the obligation to prove that this time that he's serious. We're not going to buy anything from him just by talking. That's not enough tonight.
Well, you said to me during our break that there are many Palestinians who vehemently disagree with Arafat.
I believe so. I believe that many of the Palestinian leaders around Arafat do not agree with him today. But they will never dare to say so. As I told you, if they will say so, they will not be leader anymore. In their own circumstances, he's the only one who controls everything. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't care if everyone in his own legislation council will vote for something, he can reject it automatically. Let me explain something, Leon, to the Americans, because I think it's important. People judge Israel on the standard that like we are negotiating with some democratic country. So they try to make an implications on over us, like, let's say, United States negotiating with Russia. It's not our situation. We are negotiating. We are a country, democratic state, which negotiating with a group of people who are not democracy, who doesn't give, no, he doesn't care at all about rules or commitments or anything else, and we have to make a deal with them. I wonder if United States will agree to make any agreement with just a group of people. So we cannot negotiate the same way negotiate with a state which have its own institutions, which have its own rules and everything else. We've done it with Egypt. We've done it with Jordan. And we give so much for peace with Egypt and with Jordan. Because there are states, even everybody has his own difficulties, but still there are institutions, there is the international community, they have obligations towards. Now we're negotiating with a group of people who doesn't care. Therefore, we are in a situation that we have to be very, very careful not to take any risk for the security of Israel. We cannot allow ourselves to take no risk. We have to come to an agreement which will be zero risk to Israel. Now, we are not we are not thinking, we don't think that the Palestinians are not entitled to have their own rights. We're offering them their rights. We offer them to be a state, to build up their own society, their own community. We would like to help them out if we can, because they are very talented, very high educated, and they can do really a very good job if they have the ability to do so. Today, the only one who distract all what we have built during the last 10 years is Yasser Arafat. Their own leaders is taking them to smash them to the wall. That's, in my opinion, I wonder why in the Palestinian territory there is no movement which fighting against their government. I mean, not me fighting by arm. I mean legally fighting,
right.
Demonstrate against Arafat, to go back to peace, give them life. When he sent his own thousands of children to confront our soldiers by stones, by Molotov cocktails, etc., what's the meaning of that? Is the meaning of that he's caring for his people? Or really, matter of fact, put him to conflict that can never win and just bring them to more and more misery?
Well, you said he was voted in by a good majority.
At the time.
But, yeah, but I agree with you, but people have to understand that the Palestinian Authority is not a democracy. There's no freedom of press there.
That's right.
Because if there were freedom of press, you would have demonstrations, and you would have a media that could attack him. And if the media does attack him, one guy goes to jail, well, who knows, he winds up...
Or being killed.
Being killed.
Like the Director General of Television, of Palestinian Television.
Right, so it's a precarious position. So I have a thesis that I talk about all the time, and I think that one of the solutions in the Middle East will be if Mubarak and King Hussein of Jordan and the United States get together and put this tremendous pressure on Arafat. Do you believe that?
They tried many times with President Clinton. I remind you the summit in Sharm, the summit in Cairo, summit in New York. In all those summits there were Abdullah, Mubarak, Clinton, Arafat, and Barak. And he didn't care, doesn't care. If you remember the summit of Sharm, he was supposed to declare that every violence action will be stopped by the Palestinians. They make a full declaration by President Clinton, and he didn't do anything about it.
All right, how key is Mubarak in this situation?
I think he has some influence over Arafat. Sometimes he uses it in the right way, sometimes he don't use it, sometimes he attacks Israel. By words, I mean internationally.
Right.
But in Mubarak, maybe could play the key role in the situation. Why? Because when Egypt had peace with Israel, they get back all Sinai, all the oil fields, all the airfields. They have income of more than $7 or $10 billion a year because of the peace process with Israel.
I was there, I remember it.
If you remember. Now, I expected Mr. Mubarak that he will demonstrate to the Arab world what are the fruits of peace for his own people. I wanted him to show to the world that he's really supporting peace like Sadat did. And I'm sorry to say that Mr. Mubarak never visited Israel during the last 20 years, except of the funeral of Rabin, that he came to the funeral. But he never visited Israel since then. And I told him so personally when I met him in Cairo.
And what did he say?
That time he was saying he cannot do so because Netanyahu is prime minister and the situation is very bad of the peace. But I told him, look, I'm not buying it. Even during the Rabin time, Prime Minister Rabin, what you cannot blame him that he didn't promote the peace. You didn't come to visit Israel. That's not the right way that neighbors in peace should behave.
I can tell you, when we were doing Camp David 1, the one that succeeded, the feeling I had from Anwar Sadat is that he really didn't care that much about the Palestinian problem. It was a fig leaf approach he had. In fact, there were times when he said if you give him a flagpole in Jerusalem and maybe a post stamp, that would make him happy. Now, don't quote me. I mean, that's a long time ago.
But rightly so. President of a state should take care of the benefit of his own state.
So what you say is very important. Mubarak moves when he thinks it's in the best interest of Egypt, obviously.
As well.
As well.
Maybe not only for Egypt, but as well.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Egypt does not want to go into a global war over the Palestinian situation. Do you feel the same?
I hope not. But in the meantime, they've pulled back their own ambassadors on the last 7 months. Their ambassador is not here.
But that's a punishment because the ambassador here had a great time.
Of course.
For Basuni.
That's a punishment for Basuni.
Right.
But in the meantime, we don't have ambassador. The Jordan did the same. the ambassador is still in Jordan. That's not, look, I can understand if they feel that the Palestinians are in trouble. But the way to pull back the ambassadors is not helping the situation. In my opinion, they should operate their own pressure over Arafat to come to the peace bed. What we want from him, except of preventing himself from any terror action. Is that too much to expect from someone who want to make peace with you? And we sign it and make commitments about it? I don't think it's exaggerated.
Are you feeling any kind of pressure from Russia or
No.
nothing? How about Germany?
No, I don't think so. Germany,
is Great Britain a player here at all?
I think generally Prime Minister Sharon spoke with most of the leaders of Europe, including Germany and France and Britain. We try to do our best to explain to everyone who wants to listen what are the facts. So look, every country leader which really looks in the facts objectively, he can easily find out who is to blame. Some people don't want to look at the facts. They want first to make their own statements or their own positions, and maybe afterwards to look at the facts. Those who want to look at the facts and who are willing to represent to anyone who wants all the facts that we have and to show really what are the facts are, if they want to listen.
You're in a very important position now, because one of the things that a lot of Israeli leaders tell me is that a lot of the Israeli Arab population was in a sense mistreated or not paid enough attention to during this course of building up the state of Israel. This is people who told me that. You as a justice minister can alleviate or ameliorate some of those situations. First of all, do you think that's true? Do you think that you didn't give enough attention to the Israeli Arab?
Our history was, of course, not easy. When Israel had been established, the Arabs who lived in Israel were part of the Arabs which were fighting against them. Of course, there was a very high suspicion in the beginning of the state of Israel. Right. So at that time, really the attention which was being given to the Israeli Arabs were not that high. But since then, during the years, the last years, during the last 20 years or 30 years, there is no differences between the possibilities and the rights which given to the Arab towns and cities in Israel and to Israelis. It many times depends who is the mayor, what kind of municipality they have. Are they really efficient? Are they willing to take care of the necessities in their own cities? I was the mayor of my town of Yavne when I was 24. My town was neglected.
Why so old?
Well, yeah, so old, that's it. It was a very, very neglected place with a lot of problems in crime, in work, in almost everything. But when I became to be mayor, I decided to change it upside down and did over there a full revolution, make out of it one of the best towns in Israel. Because I really put everything I got in it. So I still know many Arab villages and towns which are in a very beautiful situation. But I know also some Arab towns which the mayors had been elected by their own families alone. They don't they don't care of the law, of order, of efficiency, of anything else. And therefore they are in problem. Still, I believe that Israel should offer to every citizen in Israel, doesn't matter who is he, Jews, Arabs, Muslims, Arabs, or Christian, or Druze, everyone have to have the same rights, but as well the same liabilities. It is insufferable that somebody can think that he can use only the rights of democracy and no liabilities. That cannot work together. On the last Intifada, when we have Israeli Arabs blocking the streets, throwing stones and Molotov cocktails over cars in a way inside Israel,
right.
That was a shock for Israeli population, for Jewish population, which used to go to the Arab villages to make shopping, to go to the restaurant, to go everywhere. After those riots, Israeli stops going over there. Now they understood quite fast that they did to themselves a very, very tremendous damage to their economy, to their possibilities, because Jews say to themselves, if I cannot be safe in those cities and towns, I'm not going there. And thanks God, I believe since the last riots, there are no problems of violence now in the Israeli Arabs, because they understood that they are part of Israel, and they have to be part of Israel if they want to stay living, have to act for rights and for everything right.
All right, we're running out of time. Where were you born, Meir?
I was born in Morocco.
Morocco. How old were you when you came here?
10 years old.
And your parents came, obviously, with you?
With me, of course. I came with them.
Obviously. And where did you school? Where did you go to school?
Where did you go to school?
Yeah.
In Morocco until 10 years old in my hometown,
Right.
of course, in Morocco, and then in Yavne. I went to elementary school,
Right.
high school, I've been in Rerun, Farbatia,
Right.
then Bar-Ilan University, my first degree, second degree, started my PhD.
In
I stopped-
economics?
No, my PhD had been in political science, and my master degree had been in like public policy. I started to make my PhD and my thesis about political science, and it had been stopped because of personal matter. My daughter had been sick with cancer at the time when I was in the middle of
sorry.
the thesis and passed away, and therefore I stopped it. I never had the time to go back to it.
But you came here basically with penniless, not too much money, I assume, right?
Everything we got had been in our freight, which was on the way and lost. So, as a matter of fact, we start with penniless, nothing.
So you're really
Thanks God.
your Horatio Alger story.
I believe that I'm just an example to what Israel can do. We come with nothing, and I could be in every place I am. I've been already, as I told you, mayor. I've been a member of Knesset for the last 20 years. I've been treasurer of Jewish Agency, Minister of Finance, now Minister of Justice. And you can hold on. For the future, you will see I'll be Prime Minister as well.
On those words, we close. I got an idea for you. Write your thesis on the BBC.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
No, I'm not bothering. I don't think they're entitled to, and I'm not going to give them that honor.
They're not issues. We thank Meir Sheetrit for coming on, and he may be the next Prime Minister of Israel. One never knows in this country. Arik Sharon surely didn't think so 2 years ago. We'll see you next week.